Here we have, well, another farewell review of a new car. But there's a difference with this specific car, say considering or compared to, say, a Mark 7 Golf R, an FK8 Civic Type R. There will be a new Golf R, there will be a new Civic Type R, but there won't exactly be a new Mazda 6. And though the future of the medium mid-size sedan at Mazda could be extremely interesting, very bright and racy and luxurious, I'm still upset by the Mazda 6 going away. I have to be upfront with a few points to explain why I'm upset that the Mazda 6 is going. First, I so clearly remember the first Mazda 6 I ever drove, a 2004 yellow 5-door hatchback GT with the manual transmission and the V6. Essentially, that car was spectacular. I also have to admit that the first car I ever called my own was a 1985 Mazda 626, which I followed up with a 1989 and 91 Mazda MX-6. No, didn't buy those new. I'm not that old. I bought all three used. But the Mazda 6 itself, the first gen, was great. It was actually fairly popular. Many sold when new, very few are left. Rust issues, perhaps? I don't know. There was also a sedan version on top of the hatchback and a wagon. Whether or not that influenced how many sold, I don't know. But in 2009, the second generation car arrived, and, well, Mazda took things out of it. A lot of things. And I wasn't happy with that. And then 2014 rolled around, and Mazda essentially didn't put anything back into it, which didn't help its case, or at least not with me, and, well, a lot of consumers, let's admit, because sales have never been really strong, or they never really recovered after the first generation car. And this is in fact a third generation car. A facelift was brought forth in 2018. So essentially this is the car we're looking at now, following the facelift in 2018. And there will be no fourth generation Mazda 6 per se. Now, to invest money in the mid-size segment with a petrol engine or even a hybrid engine, front-wheel drive, I don't think really makes any sense for Mazda. I mean, the moment they introduced the CX-5, I think in 2012 for the 2013 model year, the Mazda 6 as it is, its days were more or less numbered. I mean, if we just consider Mazda Canada's current showroom, CX-3, CX-30, soon to have MX-30, CX-5, CX-9. So that leaves the Mazda MX-5 as their sporty car. Well, the Mazda 6 is done after this. They announced that back in May. And then there's the Mazda 3, which isn't selling anywhere near as well as it should, despite it being the best Mazda 3 they ever built, well, based on refinement, luxury, and content and design. Apparently that's not what consumers want anymore in a car. But there is something of a glimmer of hope for the Mazda 6 because they've been teasing us with rear-wheel drive straight 6 models. There's something about a CX-5 replacement that will have that. There may be a sedan that will be based on that same platform and rear-wheel drive layout. Let's hope so. But the Mazda 6, as we know, is dead. So what that means is that we'll just do a little walk around, point out a few things. This is a special edition of the Mazda 6, as you may have expected, given the color combination, the wheels, and all of that. And so walk around inside out, and then we'll take it for a spin. And that's where it gets really interesting with this Mazda 6, because it's a Kuro, which means in Canada, it's your first step into getting behind the wheel of a 6 with the 2.5 liter turbocharged engine. And it's kind of fun. Styling wise, the 2021 Mazda 6, or the final version of the third generation Mazda 6, is the second best looking Mazda 6 ever. I mean, the first gen was just jaw-droppingly gorgeous. This one is very attractive. It's very smooth yet muscular, and it's a very, very pretty car. And in typical Mazda Kodo design language, it's very simple and unadorned, which is probably why I like it as much as I do physically. I have to admit that the black wheels and the black paint don't really do anything for me. If anything, it dulls what is still, you know, a fairly sharp looking automobile. Let's just get into pricing. So in the US, base price for the 21 Mazda 6 is $24,475, all the way up to $35,900 for a Signature. In Canada, the trim ladder is different. There are many more versions available in the US, but the bottom and the top are very similar. So base price is $27,700 in Canada, and the top trim is the Signature, also at $39,500. The base car is reasonably well equipped with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, 8-inch display, heated front seats, so on and so forth. My car is a Kuro, right? So it is $37,950. So what you get extra for that is, I mentioned, it's the first trim that you get the 2.5 liter 4-cylinder turbo engine. You get these 19-inch wheels. You get a red leather interior with this car, with the black and red accents on the interior. Also available in just a trim lower is the 7-inch instrument panel and a Bose audio, so on and so forth. I mean, it's a Mazda 6. If you've seen one on the road, or I should say if you've noticed one, well, they pretty much all look like this. Let's just do a quick tour. I don't even remember the last time I drove and reviewed a Mazda 6, which is kind of nuts. Probably 2018. 416 liters of trunk space. It's decent for a mid-size sedan. Nothing special, nothing crazy. Here you get to see, I think it's garnet red leather interior. Oh, she locked herself up. There we go. It is quite nice, actually, and this is very Mazda as well, where everything is very premium. There are your little contrast stitching highlights. Getting in and out is not too bad. I mean, the roofline does drop, but once you're set up on board, there's a considerable amount of room. It might be a little bit, I mean, I can't even say the word snug. You might get, you know, fingers width more legroom back here in an Altima, and a Camry, maybe a little bit more than that. There's your shot of the dashboard. And really, that's what ages the car for me. But it's a very good and familiar feeling that I get when I got behind the wheel of the car for the first time some 5 days ago. Again, the interior, I mean, the seats, you have power lumbar support, memory, which is nice in this car, obviously. Let's just get in. Your piano black accents. I mean, it's very premium looking, but at the same time, the Mazda 3 is so advanced now that this has, essentially, it's been dated in a fast-forwarded way. There's your 7-inch display right there, which is nice. This is some of the unfortunate stuff, is that you only have access through the screen as a touch screen when the car is not moving. The moment you put it in drive and you take off, well, you can only use the wheel. This is, anyway, okay. That can become fairly frustrating when you're driving and you just want to navigate the menus, but you do get used to that. But this is nothing new. I do like the controls. It's kind of warm today, so very straightforward, very clean. Everything about the interior is elegant and beautiful, well crafted. The seats are very comfortable, like surprisingly supportive, and they really hold you well in place. There's good visibility all around. But there's something about the gauges. When I come down here and look at the gauges, and just like this whole area, or the top portion of the dashboard, I should say, it kind of takes me back to 7-8 years ago in Mazda cars, maybe even further away than that. Oh yeah, it does have heads-up display, if you can see that. It's old, but it's good. There's one thing I do love about Mazda. They don't mess about with 16 different drive modes. It's sport, no sport. That's it. Really like that. Anyhow, I guess that's about it for the tour, so we're gonna go for a spin right now. Driving the Mazda 6 is actually fairly entertaining, and obviously the key reason for that is the turbo 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine, turbocharged, which was introduced with the CX-9, made its way into the CX-5, and now is available in the 6 and the 3. And it's the power, specifically the amount of torque delivered by this engine. On regular fuel, it develops 227 horsepower at 5,000 RPM, 310 pound-feet of torque at 2,000 RPM. Now, given that this is a press car, definitely it's not running on 93 octane, I can tell you that much. So I'm not going to experience 250 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque at 2,500 RPM. 6-speed automatic transmission, the only transmission available, front-wheel drive, and that's it. So no all-wheel drive version like the Camry, like the Altima, like the Legacy, which is, I mean, for Canada, maybe that's something that could have been useful at some point when they introduced the third generation car in 2014, but bottom line, I don't think it would have sold that many more of them. We could just take, for example, the Altima, which could be selling a little bit better considering how much more you actually get with the car now. But I digress. The thing with this is that the amount of torque is absolutely intoxicating, and the car really, really moves. Unfortunately, though, there's a gap. There's a considerable gap between where the torque tapers off and when the horsepower come in. And because, and then at one point, I never thought I would say this 10 years ago, but with 6 gears, you kind of come to realize that an extra few gears would be nice, if only to drop back into the engine's power band on a more regular basis. Because often when you're accelerating and you're moving and you get on the throttle, well, the upshift, if the engine RPM is, say, close to 3,500 to 4,000 RPM, essentially not much is happening. And the funny thing is that when you go into sport, because everything is just so much sharper and more aggressive, it feels like the power band actually narrows itself. Because I can't necessarily explain that why, but it's a good thing there are only 2 drive modes. You never really have to think about it. Just leave it in regular and you will move about quite briskly. I mean, in fact, this car is probably faster than all other, Sonata, maybe the Sonata N-Line is faster, but otherwise this is in the top 3 fastest mid-size sedans, but it's the one you never see coming. As far as the ride is concerned, it's really good. Fully independent suspension, a multi-link rear setup. So you do get more of a dynamic feel and feedback from the controls than comfort and plushness. I mean, it's not that refinement that you get out of the Mazda 3. It's like a layer of cushioning that isolates you more from the road, you know. This car doesn't have it because it's an older design. But overall, it's still a very smooth, very agreeable car to drive. Steering is lovely. The brakes feel strong at all times. It's good. And I guess this brings me back to, you know, why I'm upset, because maybe I should have driven the car more often, but I never felt the need because it was just a Mazda 6. But it's like, I don't know, the first example that comes to mind is it's like beer goggles somehow. You know, something doesn't look that great, or maybe it's nostalgia or something like that, and then suddenly, based on some kind of influence, be it alcohol or something else, you know, the car, the person looks better, and somehow you want it more and you feel more emotionally attached to it somehow. I don't know. That's what's happening with the Mazda 6. It's kind of strange. I mean, if you're looking for a good and quick, reasonably reliable, you know, mid-size sedan, I mean, the Mazda 6 is still a good choice. But over a Camry, it's no. And over an Altima, certainly. Over a Sonata, absolutely. Over a Kia, and that's despite, you know, the engine choices. I mean, if you want all-wheel drive, I went through your options. So that brings us right back to the Camry. Legacy would be an interesting choice as well. And that pretty much boils it down. I mean, the Mazda 6 has not offered something over and above the competition for a long, long time, and it's pretty much one of the main reasons why it kind of was forgotten by the buying public. SUVs are another reason. And that's it. So farewell, Mazda 6. Perhaps we'll see you in a completely different configuration and possibly with a different name in the not too distant future. That's it.